Central Overseas Service of All India Radio presents readings from an autobiography or the story of my experiments with truth. The reading from the autobiography is presented by Sri Gopalkrishna Gandhi, writer, teacher, and the youngest grandson of Kasturba Gandhi and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The words of the Mahatma in the voice of his grandson.
My friend once took me to a brothel, but I was saved by the skin of my teeth. He sent me in with the necessary instructions. It was all prearranged. The bill had already been paid. I went into the jaws of sin, but God in His infinite mercy protected me against myself. I was almost struck blind and dumb in this den of vice. I sat near the woman on her bed, but I was tongue-tied. She naturally lost patience with me and showed me the door with abuses and insults. I then felt as though my manhood had been injured and wished to sink into the ground for shame. But I have ever since given thanks to God for having saved me. I can recall 4 more similar incidents in my life, and in most of them, my good fortune, rather than any effort on my part, saved me. From a strictly ethical point of view, all these occasions must be regarded as moral lapses, for the carnal desire was there, and it was as good as the act. But from the ordinary point of view, a man who is saved from physically committing sin is regarded as saved, and I was saved only in that sense. I was both a devoted and a jealous husband, and this friend fanned the flame of my suspicions about my wife. A servant wrongly suspected may throw up his job. A son in the same case may leave his father's roof, and a friend may put an end to a friendship. A wife, if she suspects her husband, will keep quiet, but if her husband suspects her, she is ruined. Where is she to go? A Hindu wife may not seek divorce in a law court. Law has no remedy for her. Whenever I think of those dark days of doubt and suspicions, I am filled with loathing at my folly and my lustful cruelty, and I deplore my blind devotion to a friend. I am now speaking of my 16th year. My father, as we have been seen, was bedridden. Every night I massaged his legs and retired only when he asked me to do so or after he had fallen asleep. I loved to do this service. This was also the time when my wife was expecting a baby, a circumstance which, as I can see today, meant a double shame for me. For one thing, I did not restrain myself as I should have done whilst I was yet a student. And secondly, this carnal lust got the better of what I regarded as my duty to study, and what was even a greater duty, my devotion to my parents, Shravana having been my ideal since childhood. Every night, whilst my hands were busy massaging my father's legs, my mind was hovering about the bedroom, and that too at a time when religion, medical science, and common sense alike forbade sexual intercourse. I was always glad to be relieved from my duty and would straight go to the bedroom after doing obeisance to my father. The dreadful night came. It was 10:30 or 11 p.m. I was giving the massage. My uncle offered to relieve me. I was glad and went straight to the bedroom. My wife, poor thing, was fast asleep. But how could she sleep when I was there? I woke her up. In 5 or 6 minutes, however, the servant knocked at the door. I started with alarm. "Get up," he said. "Father is very ill." I knew, of course, that he was very ill, and so I guessed what very ill meant at that moment. I sprang out of bed. "What is the matter?" "Father is no more." I ran to my father's room. My father had forebodings of the coming event. He had made a sign for pen and paper and written, "Prepare for the last rites." He had then snapped the amulet off his arm and also his gold necklace of tulsi beads and flung them aside. And a moment after this, he was no more. The shame I have never been able to efface or forget. That although my devotion to my parents knew no bounds, and I would have given up anything for it, yet it was weighed and found unpardonably wanting, because my mind was at the same moment in the grip of lust. I may mention that the poor mite that was born to my wife scarcely breathed for more than 3 or 4 days. Nothing else could be expected. Let all those who are married be warned by my example. I passed the matriculation exam in 1887. We had in Mavji Dave, who was a shrewd and learned Brahman, an old friend and advisor to the family. He had kept up his connection with the family even after my father's death. He happened to visit us during my vacation. Joshiji, that is how we used to call old Mavji Dave, turned to me and asked, "Would you not rather go to England than study here?" Nothing could have been more welcome to me. I was fighting shy of my difficult studies, so I jumped at the proposal and said that the sooner I was sent, the better. Joshiji went away, and I began building castles in the air. My elder brother was greatly exercised in his mind. How was he to find the wherewithal to send me? My brother promised to find the money somehow. My mother, however, was still unwilling. She had begun making minute inquiries. Someone had told her that young women and young men get lost in England. Someone else had said that young men took to meat, and yet another that they could not live there without liquor. "How about all this?" she asked me. I said, "Will you not trust me? I shall not lie to you. I swear that I shall not touch any of those things." "I can trust you," she said, "but how can I trust you in a distant land? I am dazed. I do not know what to do. I will ask Becharji Swami." Becharji Swami was originally a Modhvaniya, but had now become a Jain monk. He too was family advisor like Joshiji. He came to my help and said, "I shall get the boy solemnly to take 3 vows, and then he can be allowed to go." He administered the oath, and I vowed not to touch wine, woman, and meat. This done, my mother gave her permission. Meanwhile, my caste people were agitated over my going abroad. No Modhvaniya had been to England up to now, and if I dared to do so, I ought to be brought to book. A general meeting of the caste was called, and I was summoned to appear before it. I went. How I suddenly managed to muster up courage, I do not know. "In the opinion of the caste, your proposal to go to England is not proper. Our religion forbids voyages abroad. We have also heard that it is not possible to live there without compromising our religion. One is obliged to eat and drink with Europeans." "I cannot," I said, "alter my resolve to go to England. My father's friend and advisor, who is a learned Brahmin, sees no objection to my going to England, and my mother and brother have also given me their permission. But will you disregard the orders of the caste?" I am really helpless. I think the caste should not interfere in the matter. This incensed the Sheth. He swore at me. I sat unmoved. So the Sheth pronounced his order. The order was, "This boy shall be treated as an outcast from today." The order had no effect on me.
You just heard the reading from the Autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, presented by Shri Gopalkrishna Gandhi, the youngest grandson of Kasturba Gandhi and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.